You may very well be the only person who is fasting. Prayer and fasting, it matters because it's time to get these cycles gone. But the great news is you can break that cycle through prayer and fasting. What's up, fasting family? I am your fasting and prayer motivator. And in this video, you'll get a breakdown of why your fasting and prayer matter now more than ever before. And later on, your assurance and why will become rock solid, ultimately leading you to wanting to fast more. But before we can get you to that place, you must know that your prayer and fasting matters more because, simply put, this is your chance to finally make a drastic change that lasts and sticks with the Lord's help. Forget a bootstrap mentality, all right? We need to ask the Lord to help us make lasting transformation. And scriptures even tell us that a man's way seems right in his own eyes, but it's the Lord who will examine the heart and the motives of a person. You may think you know what's best for your transformation, but the fact of the matter is, if you have not seen breakthrough or freedom in an area yet, this could possibly indicate that you are in some type of a cycle. Now, this doesn't have to be a sin cycle. It could simply be an emotional cycle, a start-stop cycle, a delayed obedience cycle, a cycle of confusion and whirlwind. Whatever it is, if it's repetitive and if it's keeping you from your true God-given fulfillment. But the great news is you can break that cycle through prayer and fasting. And now is your chance to finally make that cycle breaking change. Remember when Jesus casted the demons out of the boy in Matthew 17:21, they asked Jesus why they couldn't do it. And Jesus said that this kind only come out by prayer and fasting. Jesus had just come out of his own 40-day and 40-night fast. I always got to make mention that the KJV, the NKJV, and the Amplified translations are the translations that include fasting at the end of that verse, while the NIV, ESV, the NLT do not mention fasting. It only says that these kinds come out by prayer. Now, I don't know why or how or who didn't include fasting, because in instances like needing true transformation, you need fasting because you've already been praying. And especially if it's taking a little bit longer for you to move than you'd like, then prayer and fasting, it matters because it's time to get these cycles gone and we don't have time to waste. You may say, how do I even know that I am in some form of a cycle or a loop? You can start by asking yourself these questions. One, what am I dealing with right now that does not feel like God's best for my life? It seems like it has been on a constant repeat every single year. Question two could be, what inconsistencies do I have in my walk with Christ at the moment? What gaps can't I seem to close? Question three is ultimately, what am I addicted to or codependent on that if I were to give it up today, it would crush me, but I know I would be better without it? And question four is really, do I feel like I should be further along in my life right now? Do I feel like I should be more mature or advanced in my emotions, my career, my healing, my purpose? Which leads me to my next point. Your fasting and your praying matters because the Lord is trying to bring you to fulfill your purpose and assignments on earth. And you need a lot more alignment to do that than you think. Why else do we think that when the Lord transformed Saul to Paul in Acts 9, that he led him to a 3-day fast with no water and no food before he progressed him into his new ministry? This is a special work that the Lord has called us to too. To do that work, we gotta be set apart. And the way that we do that is through prayer and fasting. In 2 Timothy, it tells us that those who cleanse themselves from the dishonorable things will be instruments for special purposes, made holy and useful for the master to do any good work. Even Moses had to pray and fast when he was given his good work and his assignment to write and rewrite the 10 Commandments. And Jesus also gives us this blueprint before he even started his ministry in Matthew. Remember, he was baptized by John the Baptist, and then the Spirit of God descended upon him when he rose from the water. And the Lord said, "This is my son with whom I am well pleased." And then after that, he was led right into the wilderness to fast for 40 days and for 40 nights. Fasting before you pursue any assignment is not new. So what makes us think that we ought not to do this too? And the next reason why your fasting matters is because you may very well be the only person who is fasting in your family, in your neighborhood, on your job. And the Lord is depending on you to be the one to intercede for the people around you. How do you think Esther was the one who called the fast on behalf of her people? If it wasn't Esther, who else would have did it? I mean, I guess we'll never know, but perhaps the Lord is calling you to be the Esther on your family, in your family, on your job, in your apartment complex. Will you be the one who is praying and fasting, and who is willing to deny themselves of their pleasures and free will in order to seek the Lord? Even Jesus said the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. What that means is there's a lot of work to be done in this earth, but not many people are around to do the work. Baby, that's what you call being understaffed, all right? And a lot of not good things happen when a business is understaffed. If you know, you know. Scriptures also tell us that the eyes of the Lord roam to and fro over all the earth, looking for somebody who he can show himself strong and who is fully devoted to him. But too many people are not devoted and not submitted to the Lord, at least not as much as they think. But that's where we pull up to Psalm 139 and ask the Lord himself to show us our devotion level and see if there's any offensive way in us, Lord, even if it's me believing that I'm closer to you than I really am. I remember 2 years ago, I was in prayer and I told the Lord, you know what? I volunteer as tribute. I will be the fasting friend. I will be the wife, the daughter, the mother, the sibling, the cousin, the co-worker, the neighbor who is fasted and consecrated for the Lord's use. Now, I'm not perfect, but guess what? I keep submitting myself to the Lord, and I keep telling myself no to the things that are not pleasing to the Lord. And the Lord is looking for you to do the same exact thing so you can be his laborer who is set apart for a solution to a problem in the earth. He wants you to be the bridge to someone else's freedom and someone else's being saved, just as Esther was the bridge. Now, speaking of bridges, all right, now we walking right over into the last reason why fasting matters more. And that is because we live in a selfish, self-consumed society. And fasting will keep us from getting sucked into the ways of the world. But it's okay, because 2 Timothy tells us in chapter 3 a little bit about that. Let's go to it. I have a parallel Bible. It's the King James Version and Amplified next to each other. So it says, I'm reading the Amplified Version. It says, but understand this, that in the last days, people will be lovers of themselves. People will be lovers of money, boastful, arrogant, unholy, disobedient, ungrateful, profane. It said people will be malicious gossipers, devoid of self-control, reckless, holding to a form of godliness, but denying its power. All of this. And it tells us what we got to do. Avoid such people and keep far away from them in the name of Jesus. And this is the way of the world right now. And if we are not vigilant, you will get sucked into that. And even Paul tells us, don't think too highly of yourself than you need to, okay? And believing that we can't be influenced into being gossipers, into being ungodly, unholy. And you may be saying, well, I'm not evil, I'm not boastful, I'm nice to people, I give to the needy. But what if I asked you if you would be willing to lay down something you love that isn't a necessity, it's more pleasurable, dopamine inducing, in order to seek the Lord without throwing a fit or trying to justify it? Like your mocha lattes in the morning, just for 1 week, lay it down. Your sports for a period of time, your shopping addiction, your video games, your Netflix binge nights, or social media scrolling. And if you try to justify that you don't need to lay those things down in prayer and fasting, well then, you got your answer. That means you're arrogant and you're not willing to humble yourself and offer your body as a living sacrifice, like Romans tells us to. Listen, I'm not in the convincing business. I tell people all the time, I am in the encouraging business. And I am simply encouraging you to pray and fast more and seek the Lord concerning your next steps to be a solution in the earth, to break those cycles and to be the one fasting in your family, in your neighborhood, on your job, okay? Here's my encouragement to you. Start small, but start intentionally. Choose a fast, choose a time of prayer. And if you're watching this thinking, girl, I don't even know where to start, it's okay. Because check out my last video where I'll walk you through exactly what I would do if this were my first time praying and fasting or diving back into it. So don't delay this. Don't overthink it, because I know we do that a lot. Seek the Lord, humble yourself, pray and fast, because your fasting and your prayer doesn't just matter for you. It matters for the people God is trying to reach through you. So I hope this was helpful, and I will catch you in the next video. I'll talk to you later. Bye.